Gandhi and the Western World by Louis Fischer. Let's understand the complete essay in English. I was on my way to India to see that fascinating and decisive country again and to gather material for a biography of Mahatma Gandhi. Louis Fischer says that I wanted to write a biography of Mahatma Gandhi. That's why I came to India, which was very fascinating and decisive country for me. It might seem that the sudden leap from Italy to India would bring a rude shock because Italy and India, these two countries, have totally different culture. The people, geography, history, and problems of the two countries are so different. He says these two countries are totally different from each other. But having friends in both made the transition easy, and though the problems appeared different, the necessary solution was the same. He says that although both countries were different, but as I came from Italy to India, so it was easy because I had my friends in both countries, and the solution, because the problems both these countries were facing were the same. A social revolution by legislation to erase the crude contrasts between poor and rich and between lower and upper classes, because he says that in both countries a social revolution was required because there are the contrasts, cruel contrasts between the rich and poor, lower and the upper classes. Nor is Gandhi so remote from Italy, Europe, the Americas, and Africa. The more I have thought of his life, the clearer becomes his relevance to the worries of the Western world today. Louis Fischer says that Gandhiji's relevance is everywhere in Italy, Europe, Americas, Africa, and it has become very clear to me when I have thought of it that he is required, his theories, principles are required in the Western world also. The post-war period would have been very different everywhere with an infusion of some Gandhian principles and techniques. Louis Fischer says that Gandhian principles and techniques are required everywhere, especially after post-war period. During that time, his principles were required in all over the world. I had lived in Gandhi's village as his house guest or hut guest for a week in 1942 and found him wise, relaxed, moderate, articulate, and communicative. Louis Fischer says that when I visited Gandhiji's village in 1942, I found he was very wise, he was very of relaxed nature, and he was very good at communication, and he was very close and clear to his all guests. He did not expect visitors or associates to be awestruck or reverent. Whichever the guest visited him, and he wanted that they should be comfortable. They should only not respect him or get shocked by him, just they should be very clear and close to him. In fact, he encouraged intimacy, banter, and laughter. He attended all his guests very closely and with laughter and in easy and comfortable way. He lived on the same level as everybody else on bare earth. When I jumped from the horse-drawn conveyance which first brought me to the edge of his village, Louis Fischer says that I went in a horse-drawn conveyance which took me to the edge of his village, and I found him on the same level like everybody on bare earth. Means he was very simple man. In this way he was living. He was there waiting to welcome me, a man of 73 in white loincloth and leather sandals, and he was all the greater because he did not need distance to enhance his importance. He was what he was. Louis Fischer says that he was there waiting for me to welcome me, and he was 73 years old, and he was wearing loincloth and leather sandals, and he was looking greater because he did nothing to distance himself from me and to enhance his importance, and he was a simple man, and whatever he was before me. One afternoon, during an hour's interview, I alluded to the only decoration in his mud-walled hut, a black and white print of Jesus Christ with the inscription, "He is our peace." "How is this?" I asked. "You are not a Christian." Louis Fischer says that one after I had an interview with Mahatma Gandhi of 1 hour duration, and what I saw in his hut, there was a decoration of Jesus Christ in black and white print, and there was a line inscribed, "He is our peace." Then Louis Fischer asks, "How is this? You are not a Christian." Then Mahatma Gandhi says that I am a Christian and a Hindu and a Muslim and a Jew. He replied. He went beyond tolerance and attained the identification with others, which is the synonym of love. He said that now whatever is the synonym of love means I love all the religions and I like tolerance, I like the identification with all the religions. Gandhi, therefore, was more Christian than most Christians. He was Christ-like. Had Gandhi been born in India 3000 years ago, his birth would have been wrapped in myths and his youth in miracles, and he would have been worshipped as a god. Fischer says that Mahatma Gandhi was Christ-like. He was more Christian even than Christians. Had he been born 3000 years ago, he would have been worshipped as a god, and his birth would have been wrapped in myths like of gods or goddesses, and his youth in miracles. By being pure in politics, he became a statesman saint. Just 4 years had passed since my visit in 1942. Fischer says that only 4 years had passed. I found Mahatma Gandhi to be very pure in politics, and he attained the status of statesman saint. Without bathing or shaving after the long, hot flight from Cairo or even occupying my hotel room, I drove off to the untouchable slum in New Delhi, where I was told Gandhi would be conducting his daily public prayer meeting. Fischer says that I was so much curious to know about Mahatma Gandhi that I, even without bathing, even without shaving, came by flight from Cairo, and even I did not occupy my hotel, and I went straight to untouchable slum in New Delhi, where I came to know that Gandhi would be conducting his daily public prayer meeting. Posting myself at the foot of the 3 wooden steps that led down from the prayer platform, I waited for the services to close. Here Fischer says that I wanted to meet him and I waited for the services of prayers to be closed. When he saw me, he said, "Oh, there you are, Fischer. Well, I have not grown better looking in these 4 years," because 4 years had passed to their last meeting, and Mahatma Gandhi says that I am still looking the same, not better looking. "I would not dare to differ with you," I replied. Fischer says that, "Really, I agree with you." He laughed loudly. I followed him around to various parts of India. I travelled with him by third-class railway car from Pune to Bombay. Fischer says that I travelled with Mahatma Gandhi from Pune to Bombay also. Wherever the train stopped, immense crowds gathered despite a very heavy monsoon rain. At one station, 2 boys, aged about 14, wet to their brown skins, their black hair dripping. Fischer says that at every station, wherever the train stopped, and there were the crowds, even despite heavy rain. And at one station he says that there were 2 boys whose age was about 14 years and they were of brown skins and water was dripping from their hair. Jumped up and down outside Gandhiji's window, moved their bent arms up and down rhythmically and yelled, "Gandhiji's, Gandhiji's, Gandhiji's." The G is a suffix of respect. Gandhi was amused. They were welcoming so much to Gandhiji's. "What are you to them?" I asked. Fischer says that I asked Mahatma Gandhi why were they welcoming him so much. He put his fists with thumbs pointed upward to his temples. "A man with horns, a spectacle," he replied. Mahatma Gandhi replied humorously that I am a man with horns, that's why they have come to see me. He always regretted that people gave him adulation when what he wanted was acceptance of his way of life. Mahatma Gandhi wanted that whatever he was doing in his life, they should do the same, not adulation. Only they were doing the praise, welcoming him, but they were not adopting his way of life. That year, I spent 8 days in his company. I hesitate to use too big a word to describe my relation to Gandhi. I probably grew to love him. Fischer says that I started loving him. I stayed for 8 days with him. 2 years later, at 8 o'clock on the morning of Saturday, January 31, 1948, I turned on the radio in my New York apartment and heard that Gandhi had been killed at his prayer meeting in New Delhi the day before. Fischer says that one day before, Mahatma Gandhi had been killed in New Delhi in his prayer meeting. When he heard it on radio in his New York apartment that on January 31, 1948, Mahatma Gandhi was killed, and he came to know it after 2 years of his visit. When the news of the Mahatma's death reached him, Leon Blum, the former Premier of France, said, "I never saw Gandhi." France's former Prime Minister stated, whose name was Leon Blum, "I don't know his language. I never set foot in his country, and yet feel the same sorrow as if I had lost someone near and dear." He was so much grieved by the death of Mahatma Gandhi, he also expressed sorrow whom he never saw, he never came to even our country. The whole world has been plunged into mourning by the death of this extraordinary man. The whole world, in fact, was full of grief after the death of Mahatma Gandhi. I had seen Gandhi, eaten with him, walked with him, talked with him, joked with him. I counted as golden the hours he gave me. Fischer says that I had the chance to see him, I had the chance to walk with him, talk with him, joke with him, and these were the golden moments for me. Now, reading the accounts of how the 3 bullets pierced his body and how he lay helpless before death, I wept through I had not wept for many years and left numb. He says that I was so much shocked by the death of his as 3 bullets, as I came to know, pierced his body and he was very helpless before death. Later, when I could think again, it seemed that maybe this was the best way to die. He was a fighter all his life, and it would have been strange if he had died of a cold. Fischer says that it was the best way he died because he was a fighter throughout his life. And if he would have been died of some minor problems like cold, then it would not have been graceful for him. His violent death was one more service. Pearl Buck called it another crucifixion. It turned the world's attention upon his life. Like Jesus Christ, when he was crucified, he took the attention of the whole world. The same way, Mahatma Gandhi's death was also another crucifixion, and he also drew the attention of the whole world. On hearing of the assassination, US Secretary of State George C. Marshall said, "Mahatma Gandhi was the spokesman for the conscience of mankind." US Senator Arthur H. Vandenberg declared that Gandhi made humility and simple truth more powerful than empires. This way he was praised by even international personalities also. Everywhere, men in big buildings and plain folks in homes and huts mourned his passing. Everybody expressed sorrow, mourning on the death of Mahatma Gandhi. Humanity felt bereft, impoverished, for Gandhi owned nothing but was rich in real values. Mahatma Gandhi had real values which were really missed by everybody. The tributes showered on him in death celebrated not so much his political achievements, great though they were, as his spiritual qualities and ethical practices. The world praised what it needed most and lacked. And he says that the real quality of Mahatma Gandhi was not his political achievements, but spiritual qualities and ethical practices really which the whole world praised, and they really needed such qualities and they all lacked this quality. Gandhi is India's gift to the Western world. His life contains a prescription for some of our worst ills, because biggest problems of our life, and his prescription means his principles, lifestyle contains the solution. In fact, Mahatma Gandhi was a gift even to the Western world. Viewing man's state with the prophet's global eye, whose X-ray vision penetrates iron curtains and national boundaries, Gandhi saw that the size of the individual has been dwindling in the democracies and dictatorships alike. He was against these systems. He says that we should have given the preference to individuals, low level, to every individual, every person. And he had the penetration through iron curtains, means he could see the problems globally all across the nations. Dictatorship, whether Bolshevik or fascist, is by definition a powerful state in which man is powerless, because he wanted that every man should be powerful. But there were different systems, different ruling, like fascist, Bolshevik. They were all sorts of dictatorships. They were giving the preference to state to make it more powerful. Elements of such power and powerlessness exist in varying degree in the democracies as a result of the expansion and growing complication of government functions and the increasing concentration of economic strength in a decreasing number of enterprises. He was worried that in varying degrees in democracies, such powerlessness were existing, and economic strength in a decreasing number of enterprises. He was worried for it. The individual, as a result, becomes dependent on institutions and on forces at least partly and often largely beyond his control, even beyond his comprehension. He wanted to empower every individual, but in such old systems, he was becoming more and more dependent upon institutions because everything was beyond his control, even beyond his comprehension, understanding. To these vast objective factors in 20th century civilization, the post-war international tensions have added the requirements of military defense, which enhance the state's power, and suspicion and distrust of the individual, which curtail his. Mahatma Gandhi said that the objective factors in 20th century of post-war international tensions were that they were increasing military defense, they were increasing state's power, and they were curtailing individuals' powers. The individual was Gandhiji's major concern, and it is this concern in particular which makes him so intimately relevant to the problems of the second half of the 20th century. He says that we should give preference to individual and that we should make it relevant, and his major concern was this one only. The century not of the common man or uncommon man, but of the assault upon the independence, integrity, and mental health of both. Mahatma Gandhi says that common man or uncommon man, it is the assault of both of these men on their independence, on their integrity, on their mental health. This way it should be immediately stopped in this century because it is not going to work in future also. Thank you.